Right. So I would say we're going to kick it off as people are still arriving, but we have a good group, 30 people in the room. So welcome to our very last session for the social gastronomy principles for this year, at least. Who knows what plan we come up together for next year. I would like just to run us through what's going to happen today. First of all, in the spirit of co-creation, we're going to have a little celebration at the beginning of the session because we've worked so hard over the last weeks all together in different roles and capacities. And so we always have to have the time to celebrate what we've achieved together as well. Right after the celebration, we're actually going to jump into what our amazing consolidators, and Maya in particular that was leading that process, have come out with after looking for all our notes, meter boards, post-its. So that's going to be exciting to see. This is going to be, as I mentioned, the last moment as well to actually give your input, see whether you resonate with those principles. Maya's going to run us through and also explain the process about it. And then we're going to jump into breakout rooms so that we can actually see, am I being represented here? Does this reflect what we discussed in our group? What am I missing? What would like to change? And then also, as we said, there is no wordsmithing in the breakout, in the sessions up until now. Now you can go into wordsmithing. So if there's a word that you find maybe promote not strong enough, that's the moment to bring it up. Every breakout room is going to have a facilitator and note takers. So we will capture everything that you have to share with us. After that, the phase 2 for our session is going to happen, and it's going to be about dreaming about the future. So you can tell us, what should we do with these principles now? So what's the plan? What are the things to consider? Maybe communications and marketing, maybe the partners engagement, maybe it is about accountability for those that are going to commit to the principles, etc., etc. The platform is ours for us to think, what do we need to do with these principles next year? So after that, we will collect all of that information and decide next steps. And that will be the end for our co-creation process and journey. So as we're going to step into the celebration piece right now, I first of all want to thank everyone, really from the bottom of our heart, for all the time, thought, creativity that you've put into this process. Everyone that was in the co-creation process, all the experimentation experts from IKEA, IDEO, from all of the different groups that came together, Future Food Institute, that donated as well your time and minds for this process, and also IKEA and Ashoka for making Dela and even this experimentation phase a reality. Without you, we wouldn't have gone beyond the day-to-day. It was so great to just stop and reflect what's needed to go deeper in our systems change. So in that spirit of gratitude and celebration, it is end of the year as well. I'm going to hand over to our amazing surprise guest of the day, Jurgis. I'm going to find you so I can highlight you as well.
Yes.
Oh dear, Maya, I need help to find Jurgis.
The good-looking guy with the mustache. That's the guy. The only one with the guitar so far.
Oh, lovely seeing you.
Beautiful. How are we all doing today? Are you all doing really good? You all enjoying yourselves? Have you all had a good time so far and looking forward to more of a good time? All right. Okay, so this is the way this is going to work. I love co-creation. And I think as many people, such as yourselves, you've reached the conclusion that food is much more than putting things into your mouth. The way we source the materials, the way we create relationships with the people around us, and with the soil and all the other factors is super important. Now, there's a very interesting thing which I would like you to pay attention to, is that music is a beautiful metaphor for many things. And I think that music is also a very beautiful metaphor for food. So if you like your food homemade with a lot of human touch, if you like your food to be imbued with the cultural particularities of a certain region, if you love your food to tell a story, if you love your food to speak to you personally, can I get a show of hands? Can I get a show of hands? A show of hands, show of hands, show of hands. Very nice. Well, then I want you to know one clear thing, that's the same way I like my music. I like music when it speaks from the heart and it speaks to the heart. I love music when it is live, when it is sourced at the source, and I love it when it looks at the people who are about to be fed. When it says, do you eat meat? You don't eat meat. Okay, let's adapt. Do you like spicy? How spicy do you like? Show me, people. How spicy do you like? You like the spicy? You like it spicy? Of course you like it spicy. Good. Raquel said kind of like, no, I don't like it that spicy. All right. But it's the same thing. It's human music, okay? So I'm going to give you a little bit of a taste of this human music. It's a process that I call a flux. All right? It's co-creation the way we've been doing it for hundreds of thousands of years. Since the day that we came in from the jungles and the woodlands and the savannas and said, hey, let's make some music together. Some music together. Some music together. Brothers and sisters, come gather round. This simple act weaves people through sound. Long before, not so long ago, music was something you didn't do on your own. Cook it with emotion. Now here's a question. What is the emotion you would like from this musical co-creation? If you give me an A, it's gonna be A. If you give me an ooh, this dish will be ooh. If you give me an O, it will be O. So here, what you give is what you get. What you give is what you get. What you give is what you get. Now we are dealing in the dark arts of emotional play. So I want you to take the advantage to do one certain thing. If you're on this call, I would invite you all to turn on your cameras and know that the ingredients that you bring into this space are not only the things that satisfy your soul. If you're into curcuma, if you're into ginger, if you're into tamarindo, right? These are things that will enhance the dish. So the emotions that you bring into this space will enhance the experience as well. Can I see some joy? Yeah, do you want this to be a joyous space? Yes, Ashoka, exactly. Do you want some excitement? What does that look like? What does the excitement look like? Right. And know that what you're projecting into this dark eye right here is what will feed the souls, nourish the spirits of the people on the other side of the screen. And if you don't believe me, try one simple thing. Show me two hands in the air, two hands in the air. Good. And I want you to put them into your heart space. And I want you to pick a little bit of love out of your heart. Get some love. Yeah, put them into the well of your heart. And I want you to concentrate it, right? Concentrate it and send it into the dark eye, into the camera, so that everybody can get a good dose of what you've got inside. I see even Ragnar is smiling. See? This stuff works. This stuff works. This is a dynamic space where we are creating a groove all together. All right, so let's do one thing, because so far I'm the only person controlling the audio. You are only relying on visual input, but musical input can also be visual. So let's do one simple thing. If you feel the beat, if you feel this beat, if you feel this beat, if you feel this beat, know that the whole SGM community is pulsing to the sound of the same beat. Yeah. Send that information out to everyone, that you feel this pulsation. Whether it's a little bit of dance, whether it's a little bit of clapping, all hands on deck, all hands of decks. Who's feeling the beat? Very nice. Now, you can also enhance your own space by clapping. I'm not going to ask you to unmute yourselves yet, but know that if you're clapping, you're adding an ingredient to your own musical experience. You're sending psychosomatic messages to your body that this is enjoyable. All right, show me how you like to clap when you're at a party. Show me how you like to clap when you're having a good time. It could be gypsy. Some music together. Yeah, gotta make some music together. Oh, oh, Have we got rhythm? Are we all pulsing? We all good? All right, hold the rhythm, hold the beat. Even check out this very simple thing. A recipe for interpersonal joy is something that can stay in your blood. It is something that can remain in the zone of your mind and your chest. So try and sing this to yourselves with me, but make an effort. But before we do that, before we even start singing, do one simple thing. I want you to sit up straight in your seats, all right? And I want you to take one deep breath in and hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, and release. Good. We're creating coherence in the space. Breathe in. Hold it, release. I can't bring any physical goodness to your space, but I can change the neurochemical composition of your blood. Yeah, just by you holding the breath. But we can also produce oxytocin, and that's what we're going to do next. Take another deep breath in. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. And I want you all to unmute yourselves and give me a heartfelt Try once more. Breathe in. Hold and release. Let me explain to you, ladies and gentlemen, why this is nice. Because that sound is a sound of relaxation. And if we're going to play, well then, you need to feel safe. And if you're safe, then you relax, then you emit such sounds such as Who's gonna help me? Who's gonna contribute? This technology here is just an illusion, and I'm gonna prove it to you right now. Come closer, just a little bit closer, closer, come closer, closer. Yes, James, I love it. Closer, come on, David, closer, closer, closer. I bet you almost felt that kiss as well. Now, using that little principle, what I'd like you to do is when you do those ahs, imagine that you are stroking the ears of everybody in this room. Because when you stroke somebody, they produce oxytocin. When somebody goes, Even you seeing me stroke myself, it makes you go, But I want you to do that with your voices. So I'm going to give you 16 bars to give me some ahs, to stroke the ears and the hearts of every single person present in this room, part of this community. You ready? You ready? Give me an ah. If you're ready, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. Ready? 1, 2, 3, here we go. From the well of your heart. I don't hear the ahs. More. 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 And last one. Deep breath in. And from here through there and all over the screen. 1, 2, 3. I love it when you sing. It's lovely when you sing. I love it when you sing. It's lovely when you sing. Good. Nadine, you were the person to take the initiative, and this is very important because it proves a very important point. In a vertical organization or an institution, people look up for direction. But what we want in a proper community is people taking their own initiative. So you have been trusting me with your attention this whole time. And for that, I say thank you. Mwah! Thank you very much. But I need you now to trust yourselves. That you are in the kitchen with the head chef, and the head chef had a couple of too many glasses of wine, and he's not completely there. And so somebody needs to step up. And so what you need to do in these kinds of situations is to trust yourselves. And the way you're going to demonstrate that you trust yourselves and you know the ingredients that the space needs is by singing. Sing. I love it when you sing. It's lovely when you. I love it when you. I love it when you.
Two chefs.
Yeah. Sing when you fallen in love you.
Sing.
When they've broken your heart you.
Sing.
When it all falls apart you.
Sing.
Sing. When alone in the dark you.
Sing.
Sing. When you're battered and scarred you sing. When you pick yourself up you. Let's engage the rhythm again. Who's got the hands? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Give me a sing. Find your voice amongst others and come one with the other and you have magic within. Hey, sing, sing, sing. I love it when you
Sing.
Yeah, it's lovely when you
Sing.
I love it when you sing. It's lovely when you sing. All right. Now, let's talk about the cultural element. Let's talk about the cultural element, bringing some kind of specific energy to the space. Whether it is in the form of a curry, whether it is in the form of a pico de gallo, there is a principle behind this, right? But when we're cooking with emotions, all we need to do is invoke the emotion. Let me give you an example. Let's bring in some Italian flair into the space in the form of Luciano Pavarotti. Luciano Pavarotti, you know Luciano Pavarotti, yes? All right? Show me your Luciano Pavarotti faces. Luciano Pavarotti, ready? And we're gonna channel Luciano Pavarotti. Are you ready? I love it when you. It's lovely when you. I love it when you. James, you got it, but you need to unmute yourself because you need to bring Luciano in. We've just got Meta Luciano for the time being. Everybody sitting up straight, come on. Imagine you just had a lot of pasta, a lot of wine, you're good, you're happy. You're dating women which are a third your age and you're good because they love you and you're amazing. Arr. You're gonna go take a deep breath in. I love it when you. Yeah, I love it when you. I love it when you sing. I love it when you sing. It's lovely when you sing. Now let's imagine that you're going to channel whatever flavor you have, whatever flavor from your region, whether it's Sweden, whether it's Kenya, whether it's Mexico or Colombia. I want you to think, give me a musical expression. Like if I was Mexican, I love it when you sing. If I was Colombian, which I am, I say, I love it when you sing. You got it? Are you ready to channel that? You're going to bring it into the SGM musical co-creation flux too. Are you ready? Here we go. I'm going to give you the verses. You need to trust yourselves to know exactly when to contribute your beautiful ingredient. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and sing. That's what song is about. When you let it all out. Sharing more than just space.
Sing, 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 sing.
More than just notes. Raquel, what was that? What was that? Where are you
Sing,
from?
sing, sing, sing.
Sing. But where's that from? Is that
Portugal.
regional?
Portugal.
You long for together. And everybody give me one last. Actually, we lost the flow, but we can rebuild the flow because that's what co-creation is about. If the cook is drunk and everybody needs to recreate, well, then let's start from the rhythm. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bring the energy into the space. Give me some joy with your eyes. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Give me a sing. Find your voice amongst others and
Sing.
become one with the other and
Sing.
you have magic within. Sing, sing, sing. I love it when you
Sing. Sing.
I love it when you. I love it when you, and you love it when you have the opportunity to
Sing.
Now, this is just us having fun with one another. This is all having fun with one another. But I believe that fun is a great metric for a healthy community because it means that we are not working for ulterior motives. Our values are in such resonance that we're like, this is fun, this is fun, this is fun. I can contribute, I feel safe, and this is beautiful. You're contributing not for payment, not for money, not for recognition. You're doing it just because you feel that your contribution can add a little bit to this experience. And that is exactly what you're going to be doing today. You're going to be contributing your elements, your ingredients, right? To bring something to enhance that whole thing, to make it more than the sum of our parts. Now, I have to go because I've done my bit. But before we close, I would like you to experience a little bit of beautiful transcendence. I'd like you to sit in your chairs, just sit up and take a deep breath in. And I would like you just to hum one note. It can be low if you're low. I would like you to find your note in this chord. And I would invite you all to unmute yourselves. We need more voices. Take a deep breath and give me a unmute. I want to hear you people. Come on. This thing isn't going to cook itself. Deep breath. A ver, Rafa, Asa, Jordana, unmute. Deep breath in and give it to me. And David, you too. Ready? 1, 2, 3. SGM, here we go. Beautiful. Jordana's saying she can't because she's going to make a fool of herself. That's okay. Maybe then they'll go, hey, why are you having so much fun? I want to be part of that too. A chord is a very beautiful concept. A chord is very beautiful because it is one of those things where each note finds its place and enhances the beauty. And that beauty comes through diversity. You know? Hey, do you think that cumin will go well with this chili pepper? Will it go well with this? And here's the thing. You need to trust each other to do that. And at some point, then the principle I operate with is you have to trust what the music needs. It's like, this will make the music more beautiful. It's not what I want, it's what makes the music more beautiful. Same way that you think, what will make this dish more delicious? So for us to experience it, I think is a little bit more valuable than just us talking about it. And I'd like you to take that idea and that feeling. Your contribution is going to give that special je ne sais quoi to this whole process. And that being said, I would like to thank Nikki, everybody at SGM for having me this lovely afternoon. And I'd like to send you a very big kiss. And I'd like to send you a lot of appreciation because, again, these dishes don't cook themselves. Without your song, without your emotional contribution, without your movement, without your smiles, there would be nothing. There would be no ingredients in this kitchen. So I want to thank you for bringing the goods and for helping me cook. And I hope that carries on for the rest of your session today. My name is Jurgis de Julis. If you want to find out more about what I do, you can check out the Community Flux website. And I want to thank you very much. And until we meet again, I love it when you...
Jurgis, thank you so much.
Qué maravilla.
That's the same vibration. Well, everyone, I think that was a good connection moment. Although we couldn't be together for this amazing process over weeks, and it was sometimes hard to co-create online, not being physically together, I hope this little contribution made us feel as if we were in one room, or at least a little closer, and that put us in the mood to continue that journey for an hour, hour and a half. Anyways, and thanks for your active singing contributions and dancing and moving, and those that couldn't for being there with a smile, I'm pretty sure. So with no further ado, we're going to now jump straight into what we were cooking up in the last weeks all together. And again, a great thank you to Maya and all of the consolidators that drove the process from chaos to order to actually come to a quite consolidated result. So Maya, I'm going to hand over to you to share with us what the results were.
Hi, everybody. And strangely enough, my internet is not very great today. So if by any chance I cut out, please just let me know. And I will have a backup here. But let me share my screen really quick.
Maya,
can everybody see my screen? Share? No, I think I got it for now. Let's see what happens. But to just start off, I want to really give a big out to James and Vanessa, who were so amazing during this process of taking everything that we worked on collectively over the past few months and turning it into something that makes sense is really beautiful, and that moves me personally very deeply. So thanks to my consolidating team. You guys are rock stars, and really appreciate you putting in the energy and the intellect and everything to kind of come out with something straightforward. That said, it was not an easy process, but at the same time, it was really nice to see that there were overlaps in a lot of what we came up with in our different groups. So I think that what that speaks to is the fact that we have a shared vision. All of us, no matter where we are from, our backgrounds, our cultures. So it's really interesting to see. And there is no blueprint for the future, for a better future, really. We have to reimagine it ourselves. And I think that this process was really that process of reimagining together, and that is priceless. So thank you all so much. And I do want to acknowledge also some shortcomings this before we go into this in the process. We did do our best to get as many different diverse representatives within this co-creation group, including people from underrepresented groups. And there were some barriers in terms of language and an internet connection, which I'm experiencing today. That kind of, we didn't have the exact representation that we wanted to. But that said, this is just a draft, and we're going to do our best to continue co-creating with those groups so that this reflects a diverse range of insight throughout the next few months. So without further ado, here is the draft of our principles that we came up with collectively. So we have here you can see we tried to, I'm not the best graphic designer, but this is a first step, a draft in showing that this is also a cycle in itself, and can kind of, go along the entire food cycle. So we have, we're going to educate people or educate about food that is good for people and planet, respect food sovereignty, source local, agroecological, and seasonal, celebrate and preserve traditional food knowledge, bridge the gap between production and consumption, catalyze radical collaboration, create the conditions necessary for dignified livelihoods, service of food access and planetary health, and honor food in its entirety. So this is one way of showing the principles, and then here's it. So I won't go deeply into that. And I guess what I will do now is kind of go through and show how we got to this consolidated version of our principles from all of the work that happened in each subgroup. So I'm going to go through just briefly each one of these principles and show kind of the either the group principles that came up or the buys that fed into each of these principles and ended up with, you know, fitting within each of these buckets. And before we go into our breakout rooms, we'll share this presentation with you as well, so you can reference it as it's the first time you're seeing it. For many of you, you'll have reference to this. So like Nikki said, if we want to go into wordsmithing, we can do that. And if you see something really missing that you felt in your group is not represented in these principles, also this would be the opportunity to really bring that. And as just to reiterate, this is a draft. So if anybody can continue kind of co-creating is. So to start off, we'll start with educate about food that is good for people and planet. As you can see across the board, education is something that stood out, whether it was within the buys or within the principles themselves. So from individual, we have, you know, making sure that people have access to the right information and sources, understand how to understand food labels, and then as we go down, we see the importance of amplifying stories, breaking myths, stimulating design initiatives based on forgotten local crops and traditional recipes. And when it comes to the planet, also this was something that stood out in terms of educating and influencing consumers to become a solution. And I think that that's really important. And it is also a core of our work here at the Social Gastronomy Movement is education. And also, I think we can all agree that it, without it, the rest doesn't make much sense. So I'm not going to go too much time, but here you can see it. So, and then, like I said, we'll share it after. Respecting food sovereignty. So here this emerged food sovereignty again, for those who might not be familiar with the concept, is the right of people to help. Food sovereignty is the right of peoples to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and their right to define their own food and agricultural systems. So this is something that also came through, whether health or valuing traditional food knowledge and practicing traditional food cultures and agroecological practices that nurture environment as well as people. And I think that this one's really key. We had prioritized initially, but respecting seems easier to go with as a word because
Maya,
the
Maya,
food sovereignty is a piece in colors. So yeah. Yeah,
you're cutting off quite a bit now. If you could turn off the camera, maybe that could be helpful.
Can you guys hear me well now?
We can hear you, yes, thank you.
Is it still breaking?
Yeah, some people in the chat wrote catching only 50% what is being said. Do you think it's easy if I share and you just tell me, because that might take up as well energy? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe if you share the screen, it'll be easier, Nikki.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Wait, I'm just opening the doc again. Which slide are you on? Respect food sovereignty. Okay. Let me put that up for everyone. Hopefully that will improve a little bit. Audio. All right. Maya, the slides are up. I'm just going to play. Go. Floor is back to you.
Just checking.
So far, so good.
Okay. Should I start from the beginning on this one? Sorry, everyone. Yeah.
Why
Okay.
don't you just go for it?
Okay, so food sovereignty, again, is the right of people to healthy, culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and their right to define their own food and agricultural systems. So this is something that stood out, whether we acknowledged the importance of sharing and preserving food cultures, valuing traditional knowledge, practicing traditional agroecological practices that are really rooted in also tradition and culture. So this also showed up across the board. And the reason we went with the word respect food sovereignty is because the food sovereignty movement is something that's championed mostly by communities of color and indigenous communities. So we wouldn't want to take claim to be prioritizing or championing that. Because it's something that is a movement, exists, and needs to be respected by stakeholders within the food service and hospitality industries. Next. Also, aligned is sourcing local, agroecological, and seasonal. So this also showed up across the board, which was wonderful. And, whether it kind of was phrased as regenerative or sustainable, agroecological is something that has like a very defined framework that is globally recognized. So we included that in the principles as well. And this is something that whether it was encouraging consumers to buy healthy, fresh, and local, or sourcing products, if we're restaurateurs or food service companies, sourcing locally, developing value-added products is something also that is interesting because it came up in Planet, but we talked about it a lot as well in our group in society. So again, this is one that shows up across the board. Next. Celebrating, preserving traditional food knowledge. So this is aligned also with respecting food sovereignty, but more taking an active role in ensuring that the traditional food knowledge that exists throughout the world is something that is not only valued and celebrated, but also protected and fostered, because a lot of this ways of farming, ways of eating, ways of consuming and living with the planet, not only protect cultural groups, but also nurture ecological systems around the world and locally. Individual, some of these you'll see also, there weren't necessarily principles exactly that spoke to this principle, but it shows up within the buys and the actions that we can take. Next. Bridging the gap between production and consumption. A shorter version of the beautifully phrased principle from the Planet Group, which was, we will strive to reduce the physical and emotional distance between food production and eating. I really love that. Somewhere this exact statement will show up eventually, because I just think it's very beautiful. But here we have it kind of consolidated a bit. And again, this is about shortening the circuits, I guess, in local food systems, getting to know producers, getting to know farmers, sourcing still, and promoting awareness as well within communities. Next. Catalyzing radical collaboration. This was a principle taken directly from the community group, written as is. But it also shows across the board, whether it's by helping others, opening doors, learning from other successful examples and inspiration across the world, strengthening local cooperatives as well, sharing knowledge and solidarity, and championing local opportunities and cross-sector collaboration. Yeah, next. creating the conditions necessary for dignified livelihoods. This one comes from Society Group, where we are working on really a lot of this centers around, because you'll see we go into equity afterwards, but this centers around fair pay. Really is what stands out as the most tangible action in this group. So whether it's by paying living wages across the food system, paying fair wages for the farmers and goods and services as well, ecosystem services, and recognition of those working within food systems, but also, championing integration programs, inclusion, and I love this actively working to change the precariousness of the gastronomic sector, because I don't know if many of you have worked within the gastronomic sector. I think around the world there is a precariousness to it that and we can work to change that, and we can reimagine something that is stable and well valued by society in general. Next, championing equity across food systems. So there was a kind of a conversation about, this is everything that we do. In a sense, it kind of all encompasses a lot of the other principles as well. But that said, it is important to have it as a standalone principle because it is so core to the work of social gastronomy, whether it is securing equal access to food, giving more to those who have fallen in the margins in the past, standing with marginalized and vulnerable communities, leading with diversity, equity, and inclusion at our core, investing in under-resourced territories, embracing diversity, and considering the diverse and marginalized opinions when we make decisions around the food system. Next. Serving as stewards of food access and planetary health. So this is a merge of many of, actually all of us, in whether we said stewards or change makers, that was something that really stood out across all groups as well, is that there has to be people actively championing change and transformation. So this is emergence between making sure that we are serving individuals and working towards food access, but also planetary, keeping that mind on planetary health. So considering planetary boundaries, promoting biodiversity, health, and nutrition, working with community kitchens and food banks to kind of make sure that when we're providing food, it is also something that is good for the planet, leading by example and supporting organizations that are already working towards models of food access and planetary health. And honoring food in its entirety. I know many of us said, hey, let's not talk about food waste. Maybe that falls in the individual to society groups, because that always falls. We thought, that's the planet group's going to talk about that. Well, it seemed unavoidable that in every group it came up. I think community was the one that I know it came up in your group because we had spoken about it a lot. But I think you guys stuck to the kind of principle of let's stick in our community realm. But otherwise it did come across within the entire, the entire co-creation process. Food waste was something that emerged, and I think we all acknowledge is extremely important to have as a principle here. So I think honoring food in its entirety means also serving adequate serving sizes, which is something that I missed here, but use of the whole food, composting, educating the hospitality industry on organic waste management, and making the most out of food, and using food or parts of the food that aren't maybe traditionally they don't conform to our societal norms, but are edible and delicious if you make them the right way. So yeah, I think that is it, if I'm not very much mistaken. So thank you for your patience. I'm going to turn on my camera and see if my internet is back. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your co-creation on this. And yeah, I look forward to hearing your thoughts.
Maya, thank you so much. Thank you all the consolidators and everyone that actually got us to get to this beautiful manifesto as it looks. And now it's not over with co-creation. We're going to throw you straight into breakout rooms. Again, there will be Maya, Mike, Sam, and Adele facilitating the conversation. So dear facilitators, you're off the hook from the past weeks. Just, like, I think the important, there'll be some guiding questions, but anyways, it's about capturing if your voices were being heard, if your group is being represented from what was co-created, or in general, just reactions. Maybe you want to consolidate it more, maybe you want to open, whatever emerges. So we have 20 minutes in the breakout rooms, and every breakout room will have access to the presentation as well. So don't worry, you will see as well. So if you want your facilitator to pull up the slides again, actually, Maya just shared it for everyone as well. So if you want to pull up the slides yourself, you can do that yourself as well. And I will for now remain in the main room because I still see people popping back in. Just give it a few seconds. I'm going to put you into the rooms, and your facilitators might come a little later because I'm going to put them manually. Well, actually, Maya, I can't see the breakout rooms anymore. Oh dear.
I can see them. If you want, I can open them.
That would be amazing. I had planned for 4.
Adele, if you could copy and paste the questions over in the chat, that would be fantastic.
Will do.
That's too short.
All right. I think we're all back in the main room now. And I was jumping around, so I just heard a few comments, but I think we have a little space for everyone to just share back a little bit. What struck you? Is there something that had consensus or concerns? I saw some consensus for the next phase of this session, which was what's next? How do we make this happen now? So I love that energy to the what's next. But before we jump there, let's hear a little bit so that we hear what the other groups talked about. So anyone, just feel free to unmute, to comment. Excitement, concerns, ideas for next steps already.
I can go for our group. For the emotions, it was pretty unanimous. Everyone was feeling very impressed, hopeful, proud, excited, amazed at how everything came together. Also the interconnections between different subgroups and how well it's structured, it's comprehensive. But at the same time, the fact that it's very broad, it also makes it maybe hard to put into action. So some of the suggestions, we were quite constructive. Some of the suggestions were, should we reduce the number of principles and be more action oriented within those principles, be more specific? There were some suggestions around the words that we can use. I won't get into the details of that. We were questioning whether food sovereignty is the right word, whether preservation of traditions is the right word, whether food access and planetary health should be separated because they're 2 big topics. One of the ideas that came up was also to see if we can link these principles to different decisions across the value chain that are made, so that each principle does not apply to every single part of the value chain, but has a specific role and a place for when to be applied. And yeah, it's important to get as much feedback as possible from the people who are on ground, who would be using these principles. So from the person who volunteers to the person who cooks to the person who grows. Yeah. Feel free to jump in if I didn't say anything else, guys.
If David is next.
Sorry.
Okay, so from our group, we had two main points, and please correct me if I'm misunderstood. We are happy and grateful for the work that we achieved, that so many people are in this and we created those principles, but we also need a concrete action plan. What do we do with those principles? How do we implement them as much as possible in as many organizations as possible, including IKEA or big whales, like Nikki said once. So it's important to look now into the next step. Please fill in what I missed.
Great. Group 3, anyone to jump in? Or maybe you have a formal reporter?
We have a formal reporter and they nominated me, which is great because I've been talking a lot, but I'll do it for them, I said. So overall, our group had very positive feedback. You know, happy with seeing this all come together and seeing, you know, the final outcome and the links between all of the groups and the subgroups. Some things, you know, it was like there were kind of, wow, how did we get from, there were like, maybe we were going to present today each group's principles that we came up with and break them down by subgroup. So we talked about the process a little bit and how we kind of came to the consolidated version of the principles. And yeah, already some really nice ideas for okay, now what do we do next? Jordana had a brilliant idea of making lists or an archive of local producers and because we're such a big community with such a global reach, how can we really highlight and celebrate those local producers as well, and bring the attention to consumers. So already really cool ideas coming up. We kind of moved from the reflection space into the idea space right ahead. So I think that's aligned with the other groups who are like, okay, now let's move into action. It's a big commitment. And yeah, what can we do next? So.
Thanks, group 3. And last group 4. Sam, do you have someone to report or we just ask for anyone but wants to jump in?
Yeah, if anyone wants to jump in, go for it. Otherwise, I can share back a bit. Just looking if anyone would like to share in our group.
Don't forget to mention the salad, the analogy of the salad.
Yes. So there was a very nice analogy of a salad. Well, I think it was from you, Anna, yes. But yeah, this idea that, all these different ingredients are coming together, the right amount of dressing. It's just a really nice analogy for looking at this process. And, some really nice positive feedback on bringing it all together in a really nice way. I think one of the other points that came up in our group in a few different ways was looking at what's the sort of supporting, sort of few lines blurb that would be really helpful when presenting or sharing the principles to people outside of this group who aren't familiar with it. Just in terms of, what's our aim behind them? How are they intended to be used? Just a very brief explainer, which of course isn't super easy to get it all down into, 1 or 2 sentences, but would be really helpful when sharing them. Yeah, and then just some, excitement around next steps and also wanting to get understandably, a bit more concrete with that. What does that look like? And how can we, make next steps across sort of different industries or sectors? So what does next steps look like for activating principles in different contexts? But overall, some really nice feedback around, different people and perspectives, feeling heard and coming together. And also just some positive feedback around the jobs of the work of the consolidators as well, in terms of bringing so much together and still feeling like it was reflecting the conversation and the perspectives that were shared behind the principles. So yeah, really nice to hear.
Right. Thank you so much to everyone for taking the time to share your first reflections. The good news is, since every group expressed they want to get to next steps as well, we will have a second phase in about 5 minutes. Before that, we have a really important thing for everyone to do, which is a very quick survey. on the process. We do want to collect how this process was for everyone, and there we go, and learn for the future. It was not easy, like we in our groups already discussed as well. The online piece of it, it's so much easier to co-create when you're actually physically together, and in between the sessions, time of mingling and emergent magic. But nonetheless, I think the result speaks for itself, that there was certain magic that did emerge. And so we would like everyone to just, take a moment. There are 2 feedback forms, which should be really quick, actually. There's one for the experimentation experts on the left-hand side, for Ashoka or IKEA representatives that were not necessarily an experimentation expert. Please feel free to jump into that one as well. And for those participants, please jump on the right-hand side to the participants feedback form, just because the process was different for everyone. And if you have a doubt where you should reply, you can just write me a message. We'll give you just a few minutes to fill that out. Again, it's just a few questions that Mike and Maya have put together, so it shouldn't take too long. We really appreciate.
The links to the surveys are in the chat, but if you prefer to use your phone and scan the QR codes, you can do that too.
Thank you, Maya. I saw David already pulling up his phone. I'm watching the screen, so when you're done, just put a little thumbs up in the icons or just your real thumb. I'll be taking note just to make sure, test the waters where we're at. Recording, actually. Well, benefiting that we have a very much diverse group and different perspectives from private sector, academia, research centers, practitioners from the ground, etc., communications experts, design thinkers, you name it. It is an amazing opportunity now to listen, to download a little bit what this group that has actually gone through these 4 sessions until now thinks we need to do next. What are the elements that we need to consider? And what could be some milestones. And so for that purpose, I'm going to do a little exercise first so that we can break us into topic areas already. There are obviously some areas that the team already thought of, even part of the Dela process before jumping into the co-creation. However, we want to leave an open space for anyone that might think what needs to happen next. So if there's something, I've never done this it's a marketplace methodology where anyone can bring a topic to the marketplace now that then will become a breakout room that you can host on a specific topic. We will collect all of that information and that will inform the action plan for next year. But we will report back on what outcomes we have. So for that purpose, if there's anything in a topic, communications and marketing, how do we now form this properly and bring to market? Or maybe we heard already, there's the bias, the action. How can stakeholders now action this? That could be a topic. So anything, accountability, how do we hold people accountable to actually following the principles? So many ideas possibly that I've already heard by just jumping from room to room and hearing the recaps. But I'd like to hear from you guys before we then break us up into another room. What are these topics we would like to discuss now? So if there's a topic that you'd like to host in one of the breakout rooms to talk about with a smaller group, speak up now, put it in the chat, and we'll start collecting. Otherwise, we'll go into some of the topics that we had on our heart from the team already. Any topic is valid. If there's a next step on wordsmithing now to make it very much inclusive and simple, as came up in group 1 around food sovereignty, for example, or in group 4, how do we engage new players? What would be important topics for us to move on next year on these principles? Great, thanks, Xavi. Testing against benchmarks.
I could say something. The one thing that I have in mind is that, just as I kind of mentioned in our group 4, is that necessarily because we are who we are, and when this
Nick, I think you went on mute. We can't hear you. Nick? I can ask you to unmute as well. There we go. If you continue speaking, then we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so what I was saying was that perhaps there are voices unheard that because we miss them, not because of anything or they were locked out by any malice, but just because of who we are, the people we've talked to, the conversations we've had. So I'm wondering just how we can expand the reach as much as possible and hear as many diverse voices as possible who necessarily can bring thoughts that would make one go, aha, you know, we never thought about that. So that is the kind of nagging thought I have in my mind right now.
Okay, I am collecting from the chat. All right, there are a lot of a lot of rooms popping up now. What I'm trying to do is create breakout rooms for these topics. Also, we're collecting them for after.
I also just collected from there, and so far we have testing against benchmarks, industry engagement, a collective pilot project, engaging voices unheard, communications, language, and design. And maybe concrete KPIs, measurement would be another one. Does anybody have something in addition to that?
Great, Maya, that made 5 rooms, right?
Right now it's 6 rooms.
Okay.
So
let's go with that.
Yeah, I'll make the breakout rooms now.
So anyone can now join this breakout room, the topic area that you'd like to now discuss what that would mean. And we'll take that information to actually then next year present possibilities to move forward. So don't worry, you're not committing to any follow-up sessions yet. Of course, if from your breakout room that emerges, but there should be a working group on that from the community. We're more than excited to hear that. But this is just more of a collection again to hearing the different perspectives of what needs to happen next. So from these rooms that were suggested, please choose the one you'd like to contribute in the next, again, 20 minutes. And then we're going to come back to the room 15 to 20 minutes, actually it was 14:15. And then we'll come back into the room, hear from the groups, and close our session.
All right. So you all should have an invitation to select your breakout.
This. And I'm sure there were already a lot of valuable contributions, and thank God our group was only 3, because otherwise we would have not moved forward. So comms group, respect to hopefully having heard a lot of voices. All right, so let's just take a few minutes to hear back, because I'm really curious to hear what was discussed, and it's on record so that people can watch it afterward in these 5 subgroups. So at this point, if it can be a 1-minute reporting from each group, I think we'll be okay. So let's kick that quickly off, and hopefully someone in the room took notes, and we can then pick that up for the summary of this session. All right, go Sandra.
I will start very quickly because I have to leave soon. Our group, we were very excited to see the big principles to start to growing. We are thinking to get a couple of principles and start to get from the paper to the community. And so how we can start to stand up on a real way and practice. It's some don't have to be all the principles, but small sections in a small community, maybe in a small hotel, in a small restaurants, and trying to see in short time, in a month, and to see the idea. Maya, I think she left, but she can explain it better than us. But we are already excited to move on.
Awesome, Sandra. Thank you. That was a minute. I love it. Could we hear someone from the industry engagement group? Andy, Dan, Mike.
Do you hear me? Yes, it's on.
Yes.
Little roundup. There's a big chance and a big potential to implement all these guidelines in businesses. And as we also discussed it, the economy, so the resources, also the money, need to be protected, and we have to show the businesses that it's very easy and it's a win if you implement these values in your business. It's not another job on the top. So now I have to be sustainable, I have to be social, I have to be this and that. We have to make sure and underline that it's a Mehrwert, it's a value on the top. And it's easy, the biggest gaps are to change the brains or the awareness of the working people, of the chefs, or of the head of operations, to implement plant-based or a bit more social values. That's the easy part. But to reach out to the right people and to change their awareness, that's the bigger job. But there's a huge potential. I think we agreed on.
Thanks, Andy and group. If there's things to add, I'm not opening the space, just put it in the chat. I'm so sorry, guys. Against time here. What about our wonderful big group, comms, language, branding? Anyone but would like to report back?
Yeah, so there was a lot, kind of clustered it into these 3 phases almost. The first phase is more testing and validating. So just maybe internally starting from seeing benchmarking with the SDGs, the Chef's Manifesto, seeing where the gaps are and if there are any complementary attributes there. Then going on ground and testing with key stakeholders, both in terms of content and also in terms of language. So hosting workshops and familiarizing people with it. Then bringing back that data and refining it, really getting your designers and copywriters in place and adding more layers to each principles, the hows, the whys, who can get involved, at what level, how can they get involved. And the third one, a big piece, is the next step would be implementation. So what does it mean to be a partner or someone who's adhering to these principles? Is it a certification? Is it more, a set of engagement activities that you do? Is there a due diligence checklist? So what does that actual implementation look like? So the 3 steps are testing, validating, then refining it, and implementing it.
Thank you, guys. That is a perfect bridge to the last group, measurement, accountability. Raquel, David, do you want to jump in for one of us? We didn't define who's going to report back.
You took some notes, right, Nikki? And I know might be unfair to give it back to you, but if you want to.
I can do it. That's okay. We have two things.
I was supposed to take notes. Sorry,
so
but
go, you know, David. Go, go,
but
go,
I
go.
didn't.
Go.
I didn't.
No. You go. You didn't. Oh, okay.
No, sorry.
Fine.
When you joined, then I didn't do it anymore.
Okay, fine. I'll run us really quickly. There are two parts which Xavi just spoke to as well. You know, what is it? So it's KPIs internal, but also KPIs external. So how do we hold people accountable to actually not becoming a greenwashing activity with principles as such, but that it's actually at its core towards impact. There were with a lot of discussion that it's a value-based approach and also building cases that will inform KPIs. So sort of reverse engineering, because there might be things we don't think about. So the case building became really strong. So cases inform KPIs. Then we have, we talked about deep diving on maybe, you know, like sort of sprints for each of the principles, that we build cases and we test and try them with practitioners so that we can then make it stronger for that value proposition Andy and his group spoke to when engaging big industry players, for example. Then we had a little bit about, oh, that was really cool. Actually, we had peer learning groups. So if, you know, somebody is really committing to principle 6, whole food is using the whole ingredient, they're really good at that, but maybe haven't thought of equity at the center of their work, but they can work with this whole group that's actually, you know, maybe someone else is really great on that principles, on holding equity at the center of our work. And then we can learn with others. So it's this best practice exchange. Yeah, but it was mainly breaking it down little by little to learn and then go bigger after. So I think, because that's the only way to learn more about KPIs and measure. That's what I captured. There's more. I think we're over time. Awesome, everyone. So I think this was like a rush through the feedback rounds. But we will try to capture. So whoever took notes, please send us through, as we will do like a little summary of this session as well. Send the recording for more details for those that missed it as well. And hopefully next year, some of us can take action on these next steps that were being discussed this afternoon. But in the meantime, just conscious of time, we've taken so many hours of your time already. I just want to, you know, again, in the name of the team and the whole community, just thank each and every single one of you on whatever part of the process you were engaged and contributed with your mind and heart. So a huge thank you to everyone and congratulations.